Well, happy Monday afternoon, everybody. People are starting to log in and really excited today. I want to make sure, as always, I got the chat open for this one. If you can hear me, just type "we can hear you, Joe." That way I make sure my mic is working and we will get going. Let's see, I got it on my clock about 3 to 4 minutes here. So if you could just let me know you hear me okay, the sound's all right, that'll be awesome. That way I know I am not just talking to myself. And we'll get going here shortly. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know that. Good deal. Good deal. And we'll get going here very, very shortly. So hang tight. And, before we get started, I got a question. Who on here, I know a lot of names that are already on here that have been on trainings with me, but if this is your first time on a training with me, just type the word first. Just kind of curious on how many people this might be their first time doing a training with us. Awesome. That's great. I can't wait. That's very exciting for me. And I hope you get to see why this is going to be a lot different than the normal stuff you see promoted online. So get started here in a few minutes and we will get going with the graphic content and the 3 keys to knowing your target customer. And we're going to do some stuff that really is going to set you apart from 99% of your competition, which might seem like a high number, but once we go through this, you'll be like, wow, yeah, this is stuff I've never done before, never even thought about doing. So I know the guy down the street's not doing it either. And that's what's so exciting about this particular training is because it's going to give you a competitive advantage that you didn't have before. And really, once we go through it, I'm not a genius. It's not rocket science, but it's stuff that we just don't think about. And so we're going to map the game plan out today. So that's going to be real exciting. So hang on, some people are still logging in, kind of get a log jam when it's right on the button. So give me another like 90 seconds and we'll get going and hope you're excited like I am. All right, so hang tight. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I know there's still some people logging in, but they'll catch up here and we'll be fine. So I do want to get started with today's training, the graphic content, the 3 keys to knowing your target customer. So before we get going, I want to tell you why this is different than either maybe a training you have sat in with me before or other ones you've done. So a couple things that I think set me apart. Number one is not only do I like training and teaching this stuff that I've learned through the years, but my bigger part is implementation, right? So how many times do we sit in on a training, take some notes, and say, you know what, that's great, and don't really develop an action plan. We don't really move forward from there. We just kind of wasted a half hour, 45 minutes of our time. I make sure with all of my stuff, you can ask anybody that's been with me for a while, that I don't do that. I want implementation. All right, so that's the first thing that if it's your first time on a training with me, that's one thing I want you to look out for is that I care about the implementation portion. not just the training. The other thing is when I do a training, it has content in it, right? So I don't want to be one of those people that go through just a vague PowerPoint presentation and then at the end saying, wow, wouldn't it be great to learn this? And bleh, here's how much you got to pay to learn it, right? No, we want to teach it today. Okay, and so that's what is really hopefully going to set this apart from a lot of the stuff you've done in the past. Okay, so the other thing I'm doing different, I'm trying this out. All right, so I want, and another thing about my trainings is I want you to be vocal on the chat, right? I want back and forth. I want to make sure people are paying attention, addressing the issues, all that good stuff. So one thing I normally do is on the chat bar you see where you can type and you're seeing everybody else's responses. Usually on the free trainings, I go ahead and I close it to just private. All right, just because, as you guys know, and I'm not saying any of you, but with corporate trainings and whatnot, people can get a little ridiculous sometimes. But I am going to try it because I feel good about today that I can leave this open so I can communicate. We all can communicate freely and just hopefully be adults. And so that's one thing. I know it's crazy to say in this professional environment that I even have to do that. But you guys know as well as I do that some people, they just don't interact well with others. So, which they shouldn't be in this business if they don't. But that's a couple things I'm doing different today. So first and foremost, I want to know who is excited to learn some of the stuff that's going to set you apart from 99% of your competition. Type in excited, committed, whatever, just to show me you are excited. I want to make sure people are on board because the more excited you get, the more excited I get, and the more excited I get, the more I share off the top of my head, which, you know, I will admit I have a PowerPoint that's set out with a general agenda of what we're going to do, but I like to go off in tangents, but meaningful ones that will actually help you as opposed to actually, you know, just wasting your time. All right, so cool. All right, people are excited, curious. I love curiosity. That's great. So graphic content, 3 keys to knowing your target customer. And this is huge when it comes to marketing, right? And so we all know that our ideal client or prospect is who we have to market to. But here's the problem, right? So all of us, I don't want to say all of us, but a majority of companies, a majority of agents and insurance carriers, they have that one prospect for the most part that they're going for. And that's somebody with good credit, homeowners, maybe married, multiple vehicles, multi-policy. All right, so I'm sure a ton of us are in that boat. Okay, and so now you're in that boat, everybody else on here is in that boat, and everybody down the street from you, across the country from you, in your state, they're all looking for that one person. All right, so when we set apart to do our marketing, you know, when we boil down the demographics, which we're going to go over that first, when we boil down the demographics, that's what we're boiling, because we're like, you know what, these ones are our prime prospects, the one we're going to have the best rates for, and they're going to be the ones that are probably going to be more attracted to our product and what we have to sell. The problem is, as I said, everybody else is doing that. So how do we go beyond that demographic stuff, right? And so that's a big part of what we're going to do today. All right, so that just kind of gives you an outline. We're going to start with that. We're going to go into really creating the perfect message to your specific market and how to go about doing that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to not waste marketing dollars, because when you do all this together, you're going to be efficient when it comes to marketing, and you're not going to spend nearly as much money throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks. All right, so that's just kind of an outline. Then we'll obviously have a Q&A after. If you have a question during, feel free to type it in. Don't be offended if I say, you know what, we're going to be covering that, or I'll cover it at the end. It's not me brushing you off. It's just might be better to not interrupt everything for that one question that we might cover a little bit later. All right, so as I first talked about, your 3 graphics, as I like to call them, we all know demographic. All right, but the big ones that are going to be exciting, hopefully for you to learn, is the psychographic and the psychic graphic. And at first you're like, what the heck does that mean? We're going to cover it all today. All right, so let's start. Let's go easy, right? Let's ease ourselves into this. Everybody, and I already gave you some, but just type in one thing that you consider a demographic type of statistic. What is a demographic? Just start listing some things out. I want to see how many we can hit. I gave you some already. This is going to be the easiest one. So I'm going to wait. Now, mind you, when I speak, there's about a 30-second delay. All right. So for some reason, if you're like, why is he pausing? That's why. But we already got good ones coming in here. Yes, you got it. Income, Brandon, nice. Zip code, Linda. Education level, age, sex, race, income, home ownership, age. Yeah, you guys got it. So exactly, age, gender, income, family size, zip code where they live, the ethnicity, level of education. You guys hit a lot of that, right? So I'm going to lay that out here. Like I said, this is the basics that everybody is doing. Right. And so maybe, you know, some of you mentioned it. If you go a little deeper in the demographic stuff, you're into the married, home ownership, ethnicity. All right. So, you know, I will give you props. If you're going outside of age, gender, or location, you're actually doing probably more than 50% of people. If you're going into the next level there, the going deeper in the demographic, the married, the own and rent home, ethnicity, all that kind of stuff, you're a little bit ahead of the game. And then a lot of people mention this stuff. Even further, education, family size, you know, they own a car, their income, that kind of stuff. This is all our demographics, okay? And so when we're setting up advertising, I see this a lot with people that advertise on social media, because we think, you know, Facebook, let's take for example, is so great because we can type in our demographics, exact age we want, zip codes, all that good stuff, great. But even Facebook, you can dig a lot deeper if you know how to do it. And that's where we're going to learn that today. So that's your basic demographic information. All right. And so I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. You guys know this stuff, right? You're on here. You know this. So I just wanted to lay it out here that if you're just doing this, you're in the majority. And we want to make you in the minority and rise above that. All right. So now, like I said, this is only the base. 95% of owners, I don't care what business it is, they stop here. And that's why you're not going to be one of them. So let's get into the good stuff. All right. And like I said, I want to spend a lot of time on demographic. We want to look at psychographic. Now, this is where the questions get a little harder. All right. So when I say psychographic, and if you don't know the answer, that's fine. What kind of things do you think I'm talking about? Let's see if some people can hit it right on the head. Psychographic info. What type of things do you think I'm talking about that we need to find out other than demographics about our target client? Now, I'll give you just a second to type in some infos. I love the interaction on here too. You guys are awesome. All right, I'm going to let some of them go through here. I'm liking some of the answers. I'll go through what I'm seeing just to kind of narrow it down. A couple of you hit it though. All right, keep typing those in because it's not a one answer. You know, there's several. But so a lot of you guys put in buying patterns, buying tendency, you know, that type of stuff. So I'm not going to disagree with you. All right, so that's correct. However, the problem is there is no way with that, as essential as that could be to our marketing, no way to just come out and ask a customer, what is your buying pattern, or figure it out without some serious data behind it. Right? I mean, you would have to have some serious stuff, credit card statements, where they shop online, all that stuff we don't have access to. So essentially, if I could figure out somebody's buying pattern, yeah, I'd be king of the world. You know, but hopefully through this other stuff, we're going to figure out their buying pattern. But I want to go to a couple answers that hit right on. Brandon and Susan said interest, right? So that's a big one, is interest. But we're going to lay out a few here. All right. So interest, hobbies. People don't think about this, and I'm not getting into a political debate whatsoever, but political views. All right, and that could be left or right or middle. Doesn't make a difference. The point is, if you understand your area, I, for instance, live in an area that is primarily conservative. Even though I'm in New York State, which as a state we're liberal, my area is upstate. So that's conservative. All right, so that's one bit of psychographic information that I need to not be afraid to use in my marketing. Now, I'm not going to go out and put a marketing campaign saying Trump's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not stupid, but I am going to go more towards that type. So for example, if I'm doing a Facebook marketing ad and I know most of my area is conservative, all right, I'm going to look at maybe some gun ownership stuff, some NRA stuff, all right, stuff like that, going towards more business owners. And I'm not saying every business owner and every gun owner is Republican. I'm just saying, you know, stats don't lie. And so when you do this type of psychographic stuff, you can't get caught up in, well, not everybody's like that. Because you're right, not everybody's like that. But if the majority is like that, all right, then you need to market to that. All right, so interests, hobbies. What kind of stuff do I mean by hobbies? All right, I'll take, you know, and this can be anywhere, but in my area, snowmobiling is a huge hobby. All right, everybody almost at some point in the year, motorcycles, right? So those recreational type things is what we're looking at with hobbies, or even collectors of some sort, whether it's antique gun collectors, card collectors, stamps, coins, what have you. That all can relate to insurance, right? It's just understanding the psychographic information that we build to figure out who our ideal client is, okay? So that's not always psychographic though. What about their lifestyle, right? Is your area blue collar, white collar, affluent, non-affluent? Who knows what affluent means? Let me know if you know what affluent means, because it's a real thing that you have to understand whether you are in an affluent or non-affluent area. It doesn't matter, but either way, you need to understand what your area is and cater to it. So affluent versus non-affluent. Give you guys a second to respond to that. Yeah, and I know other people are typing, but Liz hit it right on the head, right? So affluency is somebody that has money, okay? I'm not saying everybody in your area is a billionaire, but everybody has money if you're in an affluent area. All right. And non-affluent's the opposite. Now, we obviously all live, I actually live in a non-affluent area, even though they're conservative, believe that. Right. But, you know, affluency is big, whether you have it or don't in your area, because that's going to severely affect your marketing. If you live in an affluent area, the price, now everybody cares about price. I get that. But it's not going to be nearly as big of a deal in a non-affluent area. Right? So if you got a place that you don't have a ton of money around you, not everybody's living in 6-figure, 7-figure houses, you need to market more towards the price. All right. And so that's, you know, I know that's not always what we want to do, and we got to be careful doing it because we don't want to become Geico, but we need to recognize that. And so you should be able to know in your area, if you've been there any amount of time, what type it is. And not that it directly correlates whatsoever, but blue collar, white collar. All right, so do you live in a blue collar, you know, more on your feet, hard working area, or a white collar professionals? Now, once again, white collar does not mean affluent. All right, blue collar can also mean affluent, and white collar can be non-affluent. Everybody works at a call center for minimum wage. They're white collar, but they're not affluent. So, you know, don't get the two where they have to be simultaneous, because those are two different things. But you have to understand this when it comes to your marketing. All right. The other thing, Hunley, you put influence, right? So affluent can be influence as well if you live in an affluent area, especially if you get some high profile clients. And we're going to go through a little bit more of the whole influence thing in a minute, but I wanted to recognize that because that can actually be, you know, right next to each other. And then here comes back to that buying pattern. So this is what we can do. Right? We might not know everything about their buying pattern, but what we can do is recognize how people in our area buy and do business. And what I mean is it online, offline, or in person? Now, the beauty of today's world as a local insurance agent is if you do it right, you can service people all three of these ways: online, offline, or in person. All right. And so once again, I don't want to say everybody is the same, but if you're looking at a majority of your area, okay, let's think about the fact that you live in an area that is, I was just actually recently, one of my 2-day boot camps, I was down in Texas, Southlake, Texas, to be specific. Very up and coming area. All right, very affluent area, a lot of wealthy people, young professionals. All right, so if I'm in an area where the average income is about $250,000 and the average age is about 35 to 50, most likely, how are they going to do business? Answer, give me an answer. How are they going to do business? Online, offline, or in person? If I have an affluent area, income over $250,000, houses are 7 figures, 35 to 50. How are they going to do business? Now, obviously, I know not everybody, but the majority. How are the majority going to do business? Absolutely. You all know. Yep. Great question. Andre asked, so, and by the way, online was the answer to that. Andre asked, what's the difference in this context between offline and in person? So the context I put, and my agency was a perfect example of this, right? So I had a lot of older clientele that couldn't get that couldn't get out. So they would call me or mail me. I consider that offline. Whereas in person, they want to actually physically walk in the door. So if I'm going to do a review with somebody, right, and they want to do it over the phone, okay, so that's going to be offline. If they don't, they want to be face-to-face, then that's going to be in person, right? Liz, you're absolutely right. It does depend on the value and the complexity of the product. So let me ask you this then. When we're initially trying to gain a brand new person off the street, right? Let's say you're an insurance agency that focuses on auto, home, business, life, and financial. All right, hopefully that describes a lot of you. If I'm going to try to get somebody in that, let's go back to that 35 to 50 range, all right, I may start with online. Now, if I'm going to have a life insurance conversation with somebody, Liz, and I think this is what you're getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm having a life insurance or financial conversation with somebody, obviously that's not an online conversation, right? Most likely that's in person. All right, so you're right. You know, so there's no one answer, but we have to recognize how a majority of people, and depending on what we're promoting, auto, home, business, life, how they want to do business. You know, and is some of it guessing? Yeah, but you can really, if you narrow this stuff down, probably, you know, probably think of exactly how they want to do it most of the time. All right, so yeah, Susan, a lot of people do like in person. All right, but a lot of people, if you ask me, I never do anything in person. Personally, I do everything online. All right, but you know, if you know, Susan, in your area, people like to do business in person. Well, we need to recognize that, right, in your marketing campaigns. Absolutely, absolutely. That's where events come in, and you know, open houses and things of that nature. So you know, like I said, no one answer, but we have to recognize in our area how people are doing things. All right. All right. Let me continue on here. So actually, before I do this, questions on the psychographic stuff. I'll give it just a few seconds here. Questions on the psychographic information about what we need to obtain from the client from a psychographic view. I'll give it a few more seconds here. Try to answer what I can. So Brandon, blue collar is more if you have large factories around you. All right, so large factories, you know, people really that construction, they're not behind a desk, I guess, is blue collar, right? So that's the best. Now, is that always correct? No, but most of the time, a blue collar worker is somebody who's not sitting behind a desk all day, right? Now, obviously, there's difference. I mean, if somebody is writing life insurance and they're traveling their car half the time, yeah, they're not behind a desk, but they're still white collar. So, you know, really, white collar is more professional services type of stuff. All right, blue collar is more of, you know, manufacturing, retail, that type of stuff. And there are things that can kind of mesh between the two. So you got to really look at your area. All right, and then you can go ahead and figure out exactly what your area is. All right, other questions. Let's see, Andre. How do you gain access to this data for a given geography? So actually, there are several different ways. Number one, you know, and this might seem like an obvious answer, but I'm going to stick to it because I've always done it, is observation. Observation. You know your area, right? You know, look at your circle of friends, Andre. Look at them. And so now a lot of them might be in the same profession as you, but some might not be. Look at your family. If you have family in the area, look at what they do. All right, drive around. Who employs the most people in your area? Who are some of the biggest businesses in your area? You can also go to, if you, not everybody, depending on how up to date your community is, you can actually go to your census reports and find out a ton of information from your county. A ton of information, assuming that they're kind of up to date. Now, there are going to be some small communities that might not have their stuff online and accessible, but census, I used to go through census info all the time. And a lot of the times it was on a nice database that you can go ahead and look at income, family size, all that kind of stuff. All right. So really it's just being observant, looking around you. All right. And knowing, if you know what kind of employment your customers have, going through that type of info, right? If your customers are coming in with muddy boots and jeans to pay their bills, well, they're, if most of them are doing that, it's blue collar. Okay. So, that's a lot of it. All right. Let me see what other questions I have. Karen, that's a great question. And hi, Karen. I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Karen, I go back. So do you find that, here's what Karen said, do you find that you marketed mostly to people like yourself in terms of the psychographic profile? Okay, I did, but for a very specific reason. All right, so the only reason, I'm not saying do this yourself. The only reason I did was because I wanted my client base. First of all, I bought a book that was average age of about 58 to 70. All right. And so what I wanted in my agency, and this worked for me, I'm not saying it's going to work for you, is I wanted clients like me, my age, that preferred to do business online, were far less service heavy. And so, yes, Karen, in my case, I did market psychographically to people just like me. Not saying that's always going to work in your area. All right. So it just happened in my case to work out. So I want to, make that very clear. Is, your key market, it might very well might not be somebody just like you. Okay. So, and vice versa. Let's say you want a heavy focus on financials. Well, you're not going to market a lot to 25 to 35-year-olds, right? You're going to market to more of that almost retirement age type of people, type of market. So you got to understand your market. But in my case, Karen, yes, doesn't mean everybody should do it that way. All right. Andre, yeah, Sales Genie is awesome too. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's move on to this third graphic. All right, and that's going to be the psychic graphic. This is my favorite part. This is the part that kind of gets me super excited. So when I say psychic graphic, what do you think I mean? Now, let's see how the questions are getting a little harder. And the last one, see if anybody gets psychic graphic information right. Give you a second here to respond. What is psychic graphic information? And don't be ashamed or feel bad or embarrassed if you get it wrong. I like anybody that answers, even if it's not what we're exactly looking for. I like honesty, Susan. Absolutely. Liz, that's a great answer, and that will tie into what psychographic is, because you're right. A lot of the psychographic and the demographic stuff is going to be let us answer this psychographic. Yep. Oh, it's actually in the there's a definition online. Okay, well, that's cool. Can't argue with that. If it's online, it's true. Linda, boom. Linda hit it right on. Linda hit exactly what I'm going for. I'm going to show you some examples too. So Linda said, when a person is thinking but not necessarily thinking. And I know, Linda, some people might look at that and be confused by that sentence, but I know exactly what you mean, because you're going to see how it fits in. It's almost a subconscious, right? It's a subconscious of what people are thinking. So how do I get into that prospect's mind? All right, so the first question I always ask when setting up a marketing campaign with psychographic information was this. You get into their head. What keeps them awake at night as it relates to what you're selling or offering to them? All right, what could keep them awake? What could keep somebody awake at night that is a problem you could solve? Give me some answers. Whether it's auto, home, business, life, financial, what is something that obviously we know most people don't stay up at night thinking, oh, what am I gonna do about my insurance rates? I don't say nobody, most people don't think that. So what do they think that you can tap into that's something you can help them with? College funding, absolutely, Karen. How am I gonna pay for my kids' college, right? How am I gonna do that? Yep, yep. Bills, Liz, that's huge, right? So when we can tap in, everybody, I would not everybody, but in some form, I would think. So everybody has a fear of finances, right? Somebody has a fear of finances. And so let's take that a bit further. So yeah, we know that a client might not stay awake all night and say, oh, how can I get my insurance rates down? But they're going to stay awake. How am I going to pay my mortgage this month? Okay. So we have to recognize that and understand that. I want to go to Linda. Uncovered loss. All right. Once again, Linda, I like this because this is another one I always thought about. And same with Karen, what she just put up there. Are they going to lay awake at night thinking, oh my gosh, what if this happens and I can't have, my insurance doesn't cover it, I go bankrupt, blah, 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 blah. No, probably not. Insurance is not going to come into their mind. But what is let's say now, okay, I have a son and a daughter. They're young still, but let's fast forward 10 years for me. All right. Well, maybe a little more than that. My son is 17 now, and my daughter is 15. My daughter, who is my world, goes out and is supposed to be home by 10 with her friends, one of which drives. All right. And it is, instead of the 10 o'clock curfew, it's 11:30 at night. Do you think I'm sleeping? Do you think I'm sleeping if my 15-year-old daughter's not back by curfew on a Friday night at 10? No, of course I'm not sleeping, right? And so my worry is now, oh my gosh, I hope she's safe. And then it travels, what, she gets into an accident. Oh my gosh, what if she hurts somebody? What if somebody hurts her? Blah, 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 blah. That's the type of stuff, right, that we have to dig into and understand how that's going to relate to us. Well, now we know how that relates to us. All right, so when we're having a conversation with a client, and they now have, and this is just one example, guys, when they have a teenager, be like, heaven forbid they make a mistake and hurt somebody on the road, you can insure with us, your policy, that you're not going to be homeless, or at least come close to that as possible. All right, so that's just one example of, yeah, your clients aren't staying up awake at night thinking about their insurance, but look at all these other things they're thinking about that we can relate back to our marketing, all right, and our conversations we're having with them. Okay, so that's one example. All right. The other thing I always think, what is the biggest issue in their life that you can solve? And we just kind of talked about that with finances, college funding, things of that nature. All right. But we got to put in perspective what we can solve compared to what their problems are. We can't just think, well, only if they're thinking insurance am I able to solve that issue. Think about all the issues people have, right? And then we have to be able to relate that to something we can solve for them. Okay. Now, here's the other thing for Psychographic. We all are insurance agents. We all have agencies. Some of us are with Nationwide, some with Farmers, some with Allstate, State Farm. I got a bunch beyond the line. Some are independent. So there's a lot of options. So why should they choose you over the competition, or including doing nothing at all? So why should they choose your insurance agency over your competitor, or also maybe just not doing anything? Why should they do that? Tell me right now. Here's a great exercise I do on my boot camps. Why should I choose your office as opposed to the person down the road? What sets you apart? I want everybody, if they can, answer that. What sets you apart as an insurance agent, salesman? Yeah, Karen, exactly. What sets your office apart compared to the guy down the street? There's no wrong answer here, by the way, guys. Karen, that's a big one, right? That's a big one. Fight for claims. All right. So, there's certain insurance companies that they just, I'm not even talking about claim satisfaction. I'm just talking about basically the ability to have the agent involved with the claim. So that's big. Amy, that's a huge one. Attention to detail. And I'm going to tell you why that's huge. I want everybody to pay attention to this real quick. And those that have been around for a long time might not be as big of an epiphany, but I'm going to teach you a lesson right now that I learned the hard way. When it comes to attention to detail, when I opened my office, I was horrible to attention to detail. I'm not saying I left somebody like completely uninsured or anything crazy, but just little stupid things. But guess what? Those little stupid things add up quick. A defensive driving certificate, and I was so busy I forgot about it. Well, they didn't get their discount. Guess what? I got a cancellation from them. All right, so attention to detail is big, because think about this. What sets you apart, not just from the guy down the street, but from Geico or Progressive Online? What sets you apart? Susan, offer yearly reviews. Absolutely, that was huge. That was huge. Karen, the education portion, I know I talk a lot about that. Hunley, the solutions, right? So if any of you, I want to talk about that for a second. You know, I do in one of my marketing videos that you have to sell the solution before you sell the product. All right, sell the solution before the product. So Hunley, hit that right on. You know, you have to give them the solution and then direct them to this is the product I have that is your solution, not just this is the product I have. All right, so solutions are huge. I love that answer. Absolutely love that answer. I think that is, make sure I didn't miss any. Except for Andre, we know he's awesome enough that all they need to know is they get to deal with him personally. And Karen. Although I will say I don't get a lot of clients that way. Cool. All right, so that's Psychic Graphic. All right, so the next thing we are going to learn about is our message to market match, our M3. Before I move on to that, what questions do you guys have when it comes to psychographic, psychic graphic, and probably not a lot about demographic, but the graphic stuff we just went over. Now, the next thing we're going to do is learn how to use that graphic info into our marketing message. But what questions, if any, do we have on the graphic stuff? And I want to make sure we answer those so we can move on to the message to market match. Now I'll give it a few seconds here because I know I'm on a little bit of a delay. All right, it looks like we're good, so we'll move on. All right, and then oh yeah, we just talked about this, but yeah, how can we make life easier for them? All right. So we'll recap it: demographic, psychographic, psychic graphic. Don't stop. Here's our keys for this. Don't stop at demographics like most agents do. Take the time to know your market on the ways we just went over, and make this mission known to your staff. That's huge, right? Because if we don't relate what we're trying to accomplish to our staff, they can't get on board with us. All right, so make sure they understand why and what you're looking at on a daily basis when it comes to your marketing. Now, I'm not saying they have to be super heavily involved. If you want to take the marketing reins, obviously do it, but just let them know kind of the direction you're wanting to go in. Okay? So, M3, matching the message to the market. All right, so first of all, it's all dependent on what you're selling. And this, it's not the same every time. Okay, so we got to first determine. So this is we're gonna kind of show your campaign here for a second. So the first thing you need to think about is what is the product I'm selling. So if you're taking notes, we're gonna kind of work through this campaign. So what are you selling? Let's say we're gonna be basic here, auto. All right, we want to get people in the door for auto insurance. All right, but that's the first thing you need to define. You can't just define, I want people to come to my agency for insurance. All right, what type of insurance? What am I trying to market? What am I trying to plug? You need something specific. You need that specific product, you know, that we're going to have the answers, you know, the solution to. All right, so what are you selling? So we'll say auto. Who do you want to focus on? Which hopefully, after doing the exercise, and I'm going to give you a really cool sheet. Actually, let me show you this. I'm going to give you guys a copy to the link of this too before we're off today. I want to show you guys something pretty cool. And the guy's face in this is kind of odd, but that's okay. And don't worry, you are going to get a copy of this before we end today. Take a look at this sheet. All right. So when, and I know this is still the graphic, but when we're talking the message to marketing about who we want to focus on, hopefully we have answered these questions as best as possible. All right. And like I said, the picture's not good because the guy's head is all black and it came out weird, but the rest of it's fine. So, and I don't want to take credit for this. I actually got this off of Dan Kennedy, who taught me a lot of this stuff, at least the graph, you know, but I'm just relating it to insurance. So basically this right here is going to allow you to narrow down your ideal customer. All right. And so that's huge. And I will, before we're out today, and if I don't do it, somebody, Karen, I know you'll remind me. If I don't do it, I will. I'll put a link where you're going to be able to download it and you can just save it to your desktop. All right, you can print it out, do whatever you want with it. So, but this is always a very cool thing that just allows me to understand I went through the right steps to get my ideal target client. Okay, so you will get a copy of this. All right, so you don't have to write this down or try to draw the picture or anything like that. You are going to get a copy of it. So let's go back to the main presentation. All right, and so that when you do that sheet, that's going to hopefully get us to the point of who we want to focus on. Cool. All right, and then now we got to connect the what and the who, and that's going to equal the perfect message. All right, so, you know, I'm going to do some basics. So let's say we'll take my area again. I know they're conservative. They like to do business online, young professionals, yada, yada. And I want to sell them auto insurance. You got to understand those two things, right, to be able to put that message together. Okay, and so now your message is going to be a lot more specific. You know, so attention upstate New York residents ages 35 to 45, you know, who are confused about their auto insurance or fed up with the high price of their auto insurance or something of that nature. That's just an example, but that might be a nice tagline or lead line to an email, social media post, blog, whatever. So do you see what we're doing here? Once we narrow down who we want to focus on, we narrow down the product we're selling, we put that together. Now we have a very specific message as opposed to call the Davis agency for a free quote on your insurance. All right, much better now. And we're tailoring it and showing it just to the people, hopefully, that we've determined are in our perfect market. All right? So let's look at the what are you selling. So each marketing campaign has to have just one focus. Like I said, we don't want it just a general come to my agency type marketing campaign. We want it to be auto, home, life, business, financial, whatever. Each campaign you put, and by campaign, I mean we're deciding to do advertising, either direct mail, social media, online. Some people do door-to-door events, whatever. We need to have one primary focus. All right, so that's part of what you are selling. And then we kind of ask this about your agency, but why is your one thing better than the rest? All right, and as Karen and Andre mentioned, if your auto product is really not much different than State Farm or Allstate's or Farmers and Nationwide's, but you are different, that's what you need to promote, right? Some of those things we already went over about why your agency is set apart, so to speak. We already went over that, okay? And so we got to recognize that and understand. We got to answer our own question. We got to be tough on ourselves too, right? We got to be realists here. So we have to know, why is our one thing better than the rest? The one thing we are trying to sell, okay? Now also, what I always did every time I had a new client or a prospect in front of me is I'd like to show the prospect what my agency's processes look like when they're buying from me. And I call that future pacing. So one thing I always did, all right, and I'm not going to dog any companies here, but I was with Allstate and it was tried and true. I would focus on claims. All right, I would say, you know what, you have a claim. Let's say you sign up with me today. You have a claim down the road. You call into my office, talk to me, one of my staff members, whatever, and you want to report this claim. Now, some places, and I won't name the company, but I would say, especially in this case, if they had, you know, if they had this company on their current insurance, I would say if you call over at that agency and you ask them to file a claim, they will do nothing but transfer you to their 1-800 number. I would literally then take the phone, dial their agent's office off of my line, get somebody on the phone and say, hi, I need to report a claim. And they would say, hold one moment, and transfer me. I said, see, no better proof. All right, so I'm not saying it has to be claims, but maybe with Susan and a couple of you mentioned the reviews. All right, so you say to them, you know what, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, a year from now, instead of you having to wonder if your insurance went up, why it might have went up, why it might have went down, am I getting the best price possible? We don't make you wonder, right? We go ahead and we contact you because we want to talk to you about your coverage, make sure you're getting the best price possible, and that nothing needs to change on your insurance, because a lot of difference can be made in a year. You guys know that. So no matter what you pick, I mean, pick one thing, don't pick a ton, but show them some process in your agency and what that looks like if they were to sign up for you. Because now you're painting a picture. You're painting a picture of what being a customer with your office looks like. Okay, think about a product you want to buy. How cool would it be? Any product we want to spend significant money on, we could have a free trial first, right? And maybe, you know, my girlfriend loves purses. you know, but sometimes she him and haws or shoes or whatever. And it's not, men do the same thing. I do the same thing with tools, or, you know, I'll admit I'm a video gamer. I'll do the same thing with video games. Wouldn't it be great to be able to just have a trial period and see how much you really liked it, if it was really worth the money? There's no way for us to really do that in insurance except for this. We're a professional service. We don't always have or necessarily have a real tangible product. So how do we give somebody a glimpse into the future? We do it with future pacing them on certain processes in our agency. That's not just going to show them that we can set ourselves apart for this, that, and the other reason. That's also going to show them that we care. We're now building trust because we're not hiding something. All right. So we're building trust in them, and no sale happens without trust. You guys know that. So whatever the process is, and whatever you're good at, pick your strengths, right? Like I said, you don't want to do 10 things. Pick one thing you know you're good at. You know you're good at that you can show them in a meeting, whether it's over the phone, online, face-to-face. You can future pace them and say, we do this when you're with our agency, right? So think of that one thing that you're really good at and beat the crap out of it, okay? So that's the what are you selling. Who do you want to focus on? Well, hopefully we figured out our target prospect through the graphic information we just went through, right? So each campaign needs to have one target prospect, right? We can't go after 2, 3 different targets at the same time. You know, I can't have a group of people I know with our white collar offline with a bunch of people that are blue collar online, or vice versa. I can't have the same campaign going to both, because that's going to get away from the details. That's going to get away from being definitive. All right. So each campaign, I'm not saying you can't run multiple campaigns with different targets. You absolutely can. But we don't want to do all of them at once, because the message for your market's going to get convoluted. People won't relate to it. It's only going to hit 50% of your audience, whatever the case may be. Each campaign needs to have a separate target. All right. And you will have different targets depending on your product. You're going to have a different target trying to get auto insurance than you are getting financial. That's just how it is. So that's fine. You just got to run separate campaigns to do it. Okay. So remember this phrase. If you act like you're for everybody, then you're really not for anybody. And I run my business today like that. There are a lot of people that cannot stand me. They cannot stand the way I talk. They can't stand my trainings, and that's fine. Everybody has a preference. I don't care. What I do know is the ones that do get me, that appreciate my stuff, that are clients of mine, right? They know I'm for them. They know that I am in their shoes trying to help them specifically. All right. And so just, you know, if you don't know that phrase, write it down. If you are for everybody, then you're not really for anybody. All right. And that comes into a whole thing, which I do in other trainings and some of my stuff called polarization and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that's a big thing. That's a big thing, because you want to not just throw a bunch of spaghetti at the walls hoping a meatball sticks. All right. Now, we also got to figure out what's the best way to reach that customer. So if we know our target's online, we probably don't want to use direct mail. Vice versa, if we know our target's probably offline, then we probably don't want to use Facebook, right? So we have to narrow that down too. We have to understand what our target is probably going to use as far as receiving the message and really hone in on that. Now, does not mean, obviously, that a 65-year-old's not on Facebook, because I know a ton of them that are. Also doesn't mean that a 25-year-old isn't on Facebook, because I also know a ton of them that aren't. But the point is, the majority is what we're going for here. Not everybody's going to fit into the niche. I get that. So we got to figure out what's the best way to reach that consumer. All right. And so that's another part in the campaign. Once again, once we go through the target, we have our message, we matched it. Now, we don't want to put that message on Facebook, in direct mail, in our telemarketing script. We want to focus one area of attention. You see what we're doing here? We're funneling one area of attention in each part of this campaign, right? One target, one message, one product, one way to reach them. All right. And there's no absolutely one super awesome way, or else we would all do it and be rich, right? So it just really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what you found out from the exercise of the graphic content. Okay. So let's think about, where are they hanging out? And I don't just mean offline, I mean online. You know, what are they doing? Are they part of groups? They go to events? What kind of stuff are they doing? Right? What kind of community are they a part of? You know? Do they do fundraisers? Do they charity events? Do they do 5Ks? You know, what kind of stuff, you know, are they involved with in your community? All right. And who or what influences them? All right. Is it in your area? For instance, in my area, we have a very, and Karen knows him, a very big person that's big in the scrap metal industry. He's a friend of mine. And he is a huge influence, right? He is somebody now in your area, might be a politician, right? Might be a business owner, might be a philanthropist. I can never say this word right, philanthropist. Might be any one of those. Okay, but you got to think of who or what influences them. Do their sports teams influence them? Their local high schools, right? This can all be used to reach your consumer. So you got to think about that. Who or what influences them? All right. And who do you know that's part of that community? Maybe you are and you don't even know it. Okay, so let's say you run, does anybody here run 5Ks? I don't, and I applaud you if you do. But does anybody do that kind of stuff? 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, any of that kind of stuff? If you do, say yes. We got one. I can't talk. I don't run. If anybody here ever sees me running, assume there's something chasing me, and you better run too. But Susan, that's good for you. I wish I did. I wish I did. Here's why I'm bringing that up. It's a great example, right? So when I owned my office, one of the girls that worked for me, my office manager, she did a lot of running. She did 5Ks. And so she told me about this 5K, and she was telling me, yeah, 1,000 people signed up. Like 1,000 people signed up to run, and they actually paid? I mean, this is insane. So we set up a table, and she was there. She ran the race, right? But before and after, she had her tag on, all right, for her number, whatever it was, a bib, I guess you call it. And we got so much business because we had somebody that was part of their community on our team in our booth. That's just one example. So don't assume, all right, that yeah, mud runs, exactly. In fact, this was a mud run, Karen. So for, don't assume that you're not part of a community that might be beneficial to your marketing, because you are a staff member very well may be. All right. If you have a staff member that is heavily involved with something, civic organization or something of that nature, you can use that in your marketing. All right. Now you got to be careful. All right. I have some people saying, well, I'm really heavily involved in the church. In fact, I remember the first guy that hired me, because I go to church, and he wanted me to list out my entire church directory and send them a letter saying that I work for him. And I stuck my foot down. I said no, because there's certain limits I won't cross. All right, so I'm not saying anything and everything. Use your judgment. But there's a lot of things that you and your staff are a part of in your personal lives that can be used for this. All right, so think about that. Think about those things and what can be used. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And then network to extend that reach. So, I went to I'm not a runner, but we went to this 5K event. All right, this was 3-4 years ago. We went to this 5K event and got a ton of business from it. A lot of people knew me, and now guess what? I was part of their community, even though I don't run, right? I support it, and I think it's amazing people do it, but I used my networking to extend my reach, and I was now part of their community. I've done this a lot with motorcycle clubs. I don't ride a motorcycle. I've never owned one. I look like the least motorcycle guy in the world. Any of you have actually seen me, but I'm part of their community because I can speak the language. And when I go to an event for a motorcycle rally, which I've done a few times, I'm not wearing a tie and a button-up shirt. I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans, all right, because I want to be part of their community. And I'm not hard selling them on anything, okay? You don't have to hard sell every time you're at an event, all right? Remember that. But if you can extend the reach, even if you're not part of a community, even if you have no intention of being part of a community, if you do it right, you can network to be part of that. That's big, okay? So also with connecting the what and the who. So all this that we just talked about is going into the creation of your marketing campaign. All right, and the marketing campaign is really a specific strategy of marketing with a beginning and end time. It just can't be ongoing. You need to set a 60-day time frame, because that's going to go into what we're going to talk about next, which is trackability, and that's going to be it for today. All right, and a specific focus, that product. that's being sold to the consumer. So everything in a marketing campaign has to have these elements in it for you to be successful. All right. And then the specific medium, I can't stress how big that is. What I mean by that is it going to be direct mail, email, telemarketing, door-to-door, whatever it is, they all work, okay, if you do them right. So you need to understand that specific medium you're going to use to get your message out. And all these things are what creates your marketing campaign, okay? Now, the biggest part of doing this and having a campaign, why it needs to have a set end and beginning time, is trackability. Because the last thing I want, the one thing I hate in advertising, and I apologize, I'm not trying to offend anybody if you do this. I don't like billboards. I don't like those advertisements on shopping benches or anything of that nature because it's not trackable, right? Unless somebody calls in and says, you know what, I saw you on the billboard on Route 96 at 7 p.m. last Wednesday. I don't know if that's working. All right, I know if you're in Yellow Pages, you can have a certain phone number hooked up. That's fine, that works. But I need trackability. All right, I need trackability because every marketing campaign needs tracking to make sure you're not going broke. All right, and the reality is your trackability will tell you if something's working. I don't care if I preach to you to do a certain thing. If it doesn't work in your area, don't do it, right? Don't do it. The numbers never lie. All right, the numbers are never, ever wrong. I could be wrong, but the numbers are never wrong. You could be wrong, numbers aren't. All right, so every marketing campaign needs tracking to make sure every dollar you're spending on marketing is efficient, okay? And you gotta review it at checkpoints. Let's say we got a 60-day thing going, a 60 Facebook ad or direct mail or whatever. You know, weekly or bi-weekly, we need to check the status of it because if we're hemorrhaging money on this campaign, we need to know to stop it quick. Right? One of the biggest things that people waste money on is that they do a Facebook advertisement. They put, you know, I'll spend 10 bucks a day. It doesn't seem like a lot, but I'll just continuously have it going. They forget for 3 months they do it. They owe Facebook thousands of dollars. And all of a sudden they're like, I don't think I got any sales from it. Well, it's like, yeah, we need to set a beginning and end time and we need to track it throughout. Okay. So to make sure you're not losing money, you need to review it at certain checkpoints. Okay. And then communicate it whether on paper or put it, you know, obviously on, you know, an Excel sheet, whatever, you know, and if you have my Underground Playbook, you're part of our universe, you have access to my template, you know, and I'll show you that in a minute, that how you can get it. But you need to somehow, I don't care if it's on a pad of paper, on a notebook, I don't care. You need to record where you are when you're reviewing these checkpoints. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? So the reason we're doing trackability is not just to get statistics, but to help our wallets and our bank accounts, to make sure we're not hemorrhaging money, okay? And then, like I said, results rule, period. I don't care. If it's not working, cut it or change it. Like I said, I have been with agents that, you know, they are with our universe, and on our monthly accountability and coaching calls, they'll be like, Joe, you know, we tried all 3 of those things you said last month. 2 of them are working really well, but this one's not. But we don't get what we're doing wrong. And I'm like, you might not be doing anything wrong. Just because I said it doesn't mean it's always going to work. So if it's not working, get rid of it, or we figure out a way to change it. All right. And usually we can change it. Usually we're not too far off. It's just a slight little change here or there. But point is, if it's not working, there's a problem. Okay. Either something's not getting communicated right, the medium's wrong, the message is wrong, the market's wrong, something is wrong. Okay, so that's why we need to check in periodically and see exactly where we're at for everything. Okay. Whoops, let me go back. All right, so like I said, first, let me, Karen, I know you wouldn't let me forget, but I remembered on my own. I'm going to share with you the link to that, that page I showed you. All right, give me a second, get the link up here. Karen, you're going to remind me though, right? And what you'll be able to do off this link, guys, it is a website link, but once you get on it, you should be able to just download it right onto your desktop. You have to save the link. All right, here it comes. Just a second. Now, it's a big, long, ugly link, but it'll work. All right, so I'm going to put it right in the chat bar here, guys. Now, if it doesn't like you at first, if you're on Internet Explorer, that's why. All right, so you have to be on Firefox or Chrome or something. It sometimes might work on Internet Explorer. All right, cool. So now the other thing too, I know there's a lot of first-time people on here, a lot of multiple-time people. The other thing you know, we're doing this week. So first and foremost, thanks for joining me on the first session this week. As you see, we're gonna have a session every single day. And they're all free except for Thursday, but that's a whole different thing. So basically, at 50 people today, I was actually surprised because I just started promoting this afternoon, this morning, and we had 40 out of 50 seats filled. We already got half the other seats filled for the rest of the week. So if you haven't done that yet, I would recommend definitely doing that and getting on there for the rest of the week. And you'll see it, the emails I sent you today have the links, and I'll also send them in the mornings. You know, and if you already signed up, you get in the morning, just ignore it. You know, so the biggest thing is, the other thing we're doing is our underground agency universe. This, and basically what I did is different. What I used to do, guys, was I used to come up with a product, right? Let's take, for example, this session we did today. I would package it up. I'd say, here it is for 197 bucks or 297 bucks or whatever it may be. I'd package it and I would sell it. What I had to do was say, you know, this is ridiculous. I don't want to gouge people. You know, everything ended up being monthly. People were paying, you know, a monthly amount for this product, a monthly amount for that product, blah, blah, blah. So what I decided to do was the agency universe. And basically that gives you access to everything that we have. You thought this training was awesome. You can ask Karen and a lot of people on here. This is the tip of the iceberg. All right. So basically, I'm not going to go through a huge, big sales spiel here, but I just want to show it to you. So the underground universe is something that's very unique to our industry. Nobody else is really doing this. And so basically, let me get down to, I'm not going to go through all this junk with you guys because you already sat on here with me for a long time. Presentation, not a training. All right. So I know I'm making you dizzy. So basically, you get access to everything we have now into the future. Okay. And so you'll get, if you like this training specifically, you'll love our playbook, because this is literally that hour we just went through. The playbook has, I think, 50 to 75 hours of training, not just training, but scripts, handout job aids. We got our HR in a box. Just, I can't even tell you how much there is. So you get all that, which people right now, if you do the monthly costs, are paying that much a year. You get our digital masterclass automatically, which is how to transform your agency from offline to online. That's what people pay monthly right now for that. Our sales producer masterclass, that's basically getting your staff on board. All right, and having them work just as hard as you do on a daily basis. And it was that original course we did live. It was like $2,000 to sit in live, and then we resold the package for the $1,500 for the year. Our academy, which each month we go through something different as far as the specific topic. This month we did email marketing is what we did this month. So every month something different. And then that would be if somebody signed up for all my programs. That's what they pay a year. All right. And I'm not going to go through all this junk. All right. So this, like I said, was a sales presentation, and I'm not here to do that to you. So the other thing that this does is I also give you a full email marketing plan when you sign up for this, which I sold before for 500 bucks. And that's everything you get. So that was the first thing. The next thing I did was our premium master classes. And so what I did here was follow up. Our social media hacks and creating a sales letter, digital and offline. All right, and then I sweetened the pot because I really wanted everybody to be on this thing, right? So the other thing I did right now, that's the total value if you bought it all separate. So I did this. So I added on a monthly 1-hour call with me, an accountability coaching call. Normally I do charge 200 bucks a call, but you'd get one every single month. All right, and so when we first launched, this is all the stuff you got. We limited it to 40 people because of the coaching. All right, it's a lot of time spent. So this week, throughout all our webinars, I'm gonna open up 40 this week only. You know, and like I said, you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you want everybody on it? Because the reality is, if I had 1,000 people on this thing, then I'm committed to 1,000. I can't do that. I don't have that much time, and I don't trust anybody to coach for me instead of me. So it's all personally with me. It's not with a team member, an associate, an employee. No, it's with me. All right. And everybody that's talked to me before, if it needs to be more than one call, I can make it happen. Not a big deal. You know, people don't take advantage. So that is basically the underground universe. Now, so you're asking, of course, well, that's great, Joe. 9,723 bucks a year. Well, great. How much does it really cost? Okay. So basically, you'll see it on your right-hand side. You're going to do, I'm going to get through all this stuff because you don't need it. So here's how it's set up. You can do it several different ways. So if you want to be part of the universe, you can do our $197 a month cancel anytime plan. If you do it per quarter, you actually save an additional $376 a year. If you do it per year, you save almost $1,200 a year. And then actually, believe it or not, most people are on a lifetime because they don't have to buy another thing again. Because remember, the other thing this does, not only do you get the stuff I just showed you, any product I offer in the future, you get it automatically. So for instance, this Thursday, our paid webinar we're doing is our Ultimate Referral Machine. Well, if you're signed up for this, you don't have to pay anything additional for that. You'll get it automatically on your dashboard. All right, so if you want to get access to this, this is obviously not the point of this training, but if you want to get access, if you like this training even a little, this is just the basic tip of the iceberg of what you're going to find in here. All right, and so obviously if you sign up for our subscription service, it's cancel anytime. You won't renew on the next term. Okay, and that's the money you save doing it. So click the offer button to your right if that's something you want to take advantage of. And what it looks like, so I give you a little bit more of a definition here when you're on the actual page itself. All right, so that's me. If you didn't know what I looked like, there I am. So basically, let me go down. I want to make you guys dizzy here. Description of everything you get for now, and then you also, like I said, get everything into the future. All right, and plus the coaching calls. You know, and depending on what you sign up for, money. Like even if you sign up for the year, you're saving almost half, or over half. I'm sorry, compared to if you're paying it monthly. Okay. And then like I said, the biggest one is every product we offer into the future. All right, so you can do that. Get instant access today. Click to your right. It will allow you instant access to it. You know, really the coaching is fun because we focus on every month, the people I do this with, we focus on whatever they need, right? So some months, you know, I had one this month, to Thursday. It wasn't just a call with the agent, it was a call with their team. So I did a team call. And we went through scripts, we went through marketing, we went through, you know, talking to customers. How to get referrals was a big thing we focused on, okay? Andre, if you want to, email me. Here's my email, guys, if you have specific questions. And I can either correspond via email or I can give you a call. Either way. Yep. I'm not one of those guys that's too big for business here. You'll hear from me directly. So anyway, like I said, it can sometimes be just an accountability call, a coaching call, a team call. You know, and it's just really awesome, but that's why I have a very strict limit. So basically how it's going to work, we have 40 spots open for the week. Each day, today's webcast, we had 40 people on. I can already tell by the numbers I'm getting in, we're gonna have 50 for the rest of the week. So once the 40 spots are gone, which may be by Wednesday or Thursday, I don't know, I'm gonna close this offer. So it's not gonna be around anymore because I'm gonna be running crazy with 80 people. That's 40 hours a month or 80 hours a month right now. So we're talking 2 full weeks of coaching, you know, and I really can't go above that. So, you know, once the 40 spots are gone, they're gone. Okay. And I don't look at it at the same time here, so I don't know if any spots are gone yet. I can look real quick. Let's see. But yeah, so basically once the 40 are gone, they're gone. You know, and that's just kind of how it's going to be. But so yeah, that's everything that you're going to get initially, and then everything, like I said, into the future. So, you know, I have a lot of cool stuff coming out. We got the referral machine. That's going to be sold separately for like $97 a month, but you won't pay extra if you're in this because you're going to automatically get it. We're also having an email marketing product coming out. Once again, probably going to be 100 or yeah, probably 97 a month. Once again, if you have this, you're not going to pay extra for it. All this stuff is around 97 to 197 a month separately, but I'm just trying to compact it all. You know, and I know some people like to just focus on one thing, save money, and that's cool. But this is an option for somebody that wants access to it all and to be able to have me as an accountability partner and a coach each and every month. So we went through a lot of stuff today. What questions do you guys have? Like I said, if you want to take advantage of the underground universe, click to the right, but not just on this, But what other stuff do you have questions on when it comes to the training we did today? So I want to make sure we answer all your questions. Oh, and if you didn't sign up for the future trainings this week, definitely do it. You definitely want to do it. Any questions? All right. Well, if you have specific questions, all right, my email is joe@imwithdavis.com. Email me, and then we can go ahead. We can chat or correspond via email, whatever. A lot of you know I don't stop working at 5. So, you know, if you're not in the Eastern time zone, that's okay. If it's after 5 for me, not a problem. I'll call you. You know, but I thought this was. Thank you, Karen. Yes, Karen, I appreciate that. Yeah, Karen was one of my early clients, actually. We've known each other a long time. I need to get out there and see you, though. It's been a while since I've been in your office. You know, we have a ton of agents. So if you're looking for numbers, you know, I don't like bragging, but we have about 800 and right now 87 total agents, part of the Underground Agency, not on the Universe program, but as far as who I work with. All right, that have worked with me, got trainings, you know, paid customers. So, you know, I'm not just doing this, you know, it's not my first month in the game. So, like I said, implementation is huge for me. I want to make sure you're successful, and I want to make sure that we really achieve whatever results you want. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down for a second. All right, so once again, with the Underground Agency Universe, you get all this good stuff. All right, and several different payment options, whatever fits your budget best. But back to the training. I want to make sure no one has questions on the training. And if you do, email me, joe@imwithdavis.com, and we can either correspond via email or phone call. Either way is fine. Other than that, it doesn't look like I have any other questions. If you think of something after the fact, let me know. More than happy to help you out. Really, I thought this was an awesome training. Really excited about the next training tomorrow, which is all about Facebook lead generation and actually getting real leads with real contact info for less than $4 a pop. All right, and it's actually a training I did. It was a product, once again, 97 bucks, that I'm actually going to do for free tomorrow. So it's very cool, and I hope you can join me on it. We got 30 seats filled out of 50, and we haven't even started promoting it for tomorrow yet, and a lot of people haven't read emails. So hopefully you can join me for that. Look for the emails or the ones I sent you today. You can sign up via that link. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you joining me. I'll leave this page up for a little bit longer if you're making a decision. And other than that, I will talk to you later. Bye.